If you don't have Alpha 1 access, but you're watching content, you are fully warranted, justified, and encouraged to share your feedback on the areas of interest and things that you have opinions on. We've got a fun one today, okay? We are gonna talk about naval. Just anything and everything related to gameplay and Ashes of Creation on the water. If you got any points to bring up, do so. Please bring them up. Let me know. Let us know. Share your thoughts. Share your experiences in other games, what you liked, what you didn't like, how ships handled, what propelled them, what the controls were like, what was combat like on and off the ship, PvP, PvE, raids, whatever it is. Let's hear it, okay? Anything to do with water content today, that is the topic of discussion. There's a lot to talk about in terms of small nuances with naval combat. I haven't played a lot of naval content in games. I haven't played Sea of Thieves, okay? Arcade ship battles. I never played Arcade. I've heard that their ship battles were good. My buddy Nabastil, who you guys might see in chat here from time to time, he showed me some around Arcade on Discord stream one night, just to kind of show me some things that he thought were somewhat related to Ashes, or where some inspiration could be drawn from for the game. And we went and looked at his boats and things like that, and yeah, it looked cool. We didn't go and do any battles or anything, but the first time I played Sea of Thieves was amazing, so glad it gave me that memory. She'll be doing all content if possible. I'll be focused on building my galleon for the guild to use. Yeah, I got my buddies already planning on being a shipbuilder too. Now the cool thing is anybody can build a boat, right? Anybody can build a boat. You don't have, a shipbuilder is to boats what a carpenter is to your freehold. They build the features and additions and attachments that go on the boat. That's what the shipbuilder does, okay? Anybody can build the boat itself. There'll be blueprints that you can acquire to build your boat, and as long as you are on a coastal node that has leveled up... Let's go look here, because the name is the crafting station. Harbor crafting station, there you go. The harbor crafting station, if you go there, anybody can build the boat. As long as you got the blueprints and the materials, anybody can do it. Now, there's going to be lots of different tiers of things, and there's various components of the ship, and depending on the tiers that you go with, you will be able to put on various attachments, including weapons, defensive armaments, things to help improve your maneuverability and speed, durability, capacity, all these things. Those attachments are what your shipbuilders are going to make. That's the difference. And there will be a market for that. They will be able to sell their stuff. Obviously, they're going to be in more of a niche market because they're only is going to appeal to people that are in and around coastal nodes. But I have a sneaking suspicion that the coastal nodes are going to be quite popular. Coastal nodes and nodes near castles are going to be very popular. The raid ship battle sucks at time keep sinking my ship, crashing into other ships. Got to get my ship building. What do you mean by going naval? For newbie, sorry. So by going naval, just being naval content, being aquatic content, anything on the water, or in the water, for that matter, on the water or in the water, is kind of what I'm referring to as going naval. It doesn't just necessarily mean being on a boat. There'll be raid bosses such as what's his name? I think it's he who groveled. He who grovels is the name of the Kraken that is supposed to be out exploring the ocean somewhere. I suspect he will be a raid boss. I suspect that he might have some relics or ties to the Light Pact. Okay, based on APOC lore. We did do a video on that one a while ago. Be sure to go check it out on the YouTube channel. I think it was called Treasure Hunting Light Pact or something like that. So we expect that he will be out there where, it's hard to say. He could be a roamer. He might not. I plan on being a shipbuilder. I have a hunch that shipbuilders will possibly be making ship repair kits. Likely, yes. Ship repair kits will be a thing. Now that is something else. There is mariner classes, and boat repair is... Now, these are obviously subject to a lot of testing and configuration. These are an early stage of planning from 3 years ago. So these mariner classes might completely change and adjust over time. But boat repair is one of them. And yes, repair kits could very much be created by shipbuilders and as absolutely would be in very high demand. Can I pre-order ship repair kits now? You have to put your pre-order in with Psychophobic. Maybe he will get a store going offline where he can sell his stuff for in-game currency, of course. Obviously not for real money. Coastal Node. Yeah, Coastal Node is I'm leaning towards as well. And I'm really torn because I really want to be in the PvP scene and the bounty hunter system intrigues me. You know, the arenas I really wanted to be a part of. So I'm torn between a militaristic node and an economic node right now. Because I feel like the economic nodes will be very, very profitable and very good for naval nodes, or sorry, coastal nodes, because of their ability to handle trade and whatnot. Will naval content be similar to Sea of Thieves or what? That, honestly, that is why I need to play Sea of Thieves, to get a little bit more experience and understanding of what it could be. Anybody that has played Sea of Thieves will probably be able to speak to that a little bit better, Glockter, than I can. But this is one of my biggest curiosities, and I want to know what you guys think about this. So I've been playing Valheim recently. We've been driving boats around a little bit more. And the boats there are rudimentary. They're basic boats, right? They're a simple sailboat or a raft. You have your rudder paddle that you could go at a very, very slow pace by paddling your single paddle. Or you put up the sails, and if you have favorable wind conditions, you sail around. Now, I want to know what you guys think about propulsion systems within the game. Do you want that realism of having that wind to drive your sails, but if the wind is not favorable, or like if it's blowing against you in your face, you're obviously not sailing forward anymore. Okay? If there's no wind at all, you're dead in the water. Or do you want it to just be you put up your sails and you just go at whatever at a couple different presets of speed based on the size of your ship and your attachments and whatnot? Is it do you have the big oars coming out the side of the boat, the side of the hull, where you can either hire NPCs or staff it with your guild members or other crew members to go in and paddle and row your boat for maneuverability? Is it going to be a little bit more magical? Or powered by the essence, if you will, similar to what cannons will be. Cannons, we already know, aren't going to be combustion-based. They are going to be magic-based. Okay, you're not going to light a fuse and ignite the gunpowder and launch cannonball. It's going to fire and concentrated magic or essence out of the cannon. Where do you guys want to see? Personally, I like the idea of I like the realism of the wind. It adds a neat element to it, but I can see it being very frustrating as well. There's been many times where, because the wind has been unfavorable, we're in the middle of the water. I can get up, I can go to the washroom, I come back, and nothing has happened. We're not going anywhere. To me, that kind of does impact the game experience to an extent. So wind needs, if that's the way it's going to be, it needs to shift often enough that you're not sitting there for 10, 15, 20 minutes dead in the water. Or there needs to be an alternate propulsion system that, might not be ideal, might not be as fast or as maneuverable, but you can at least move and continue to make headway. They're comparing Ashes to Sea of Thieves for ship battles. I could have sworn someone said it was more Atlas-like. I'm not familiar with that. I know Arcage is a big influence for the game and Lineage and things like that. So Well, we're going to have to wait and see. I don't even know. Naval Content is, they were hoping to be able to have that in Ashes. We've seen some buoyancy and physics testing in the recent dev stream. So there is a chance that we're going to see some very basic first iterations of naval content, or at least boats in the game. And that's going to be very much for a testing to provide feedback. Anything in every subject, but mechanics-wise is giving me Sea of Thieves vibes. Okay. Or is that way it sticks but to the age? It would be very... I love the idea of that, especially on the big, like a big galleon. Being able to hire a bunch of NPCs to paddle your oars around to move you. That would be super cool, right? I don't know that everybody is going to be able to be pleased by the system. In arcades, the ship speed is based on size and weight on board, but the wind just make you move faster. Okay. Atlas is an open world pirate styled game. It's Ark, but with islands, pirates, ghost ship, and different PvE stuff to do. Oh, okay, neat. You make your own different ships, different versions of them, and each one has its own benefit. That's cool. I'm really excited for Mariner classes. I think that is going to be super awesome. And I really want to make sure that, you know, the classes feel dynamic enough, but also very engaging, and that you have a fun, fulfilling role on the ship. I'm excited for the different classes. Honestly, I have no idea what I'm going to play. Just going to be experimental. That's the big thing, right? Is going to have to play around with it. Like a gunnery sergeant on the ship sounds like a lot of fun, right? Obviously, captain, piloting the ship seems really cool. But what I'm really curious about is what, because you'll be able to specialize into different trees of the class, similar to how artisan classes grow. What do these skill trees offer? Like if you're a navigation class, do you see things on the map, in the sky, that other classes can't see? That if you're not that level of navigation class, that no people can't see that stuff? Like maybe you can navigate through the stars better because you can see paths or directions in the stars that visually are not there to other people, to other classes. You know, if you're a gunnery sergeant, can you shoot farther and do more damage with your weapons than somebody who is not a gunnery sergeant, but still decides to pick up arms on the ship? Or do you just simply not even get access? Can you not even interact with that item if you're not part of that class? In Arcade, one need to make the ammo for the cannons. I wonder how that's going to work for magic-based cannon. I feel like they're just going to work. There will probably be like a global cooldown, or a cooldown to how often you can shoot any specific cannon. Obviously, if you maybe it's like a 3-second cooldown, and you'll have 3 cannons lined up, so you just boom, 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 boom. One person can man all 3 cannons, kind of thing. Maps have more information depending on the class. Like this is what's really cool, right? You'll have a ship components expert. I don't know what that's going to be. Utility-based skills, defensive skills. Like, I feel like a lot of this stuff might just be general ideas of things that can be incorporated into classes. I don't think these bottom 3 really would warrant in 3 individual classes for those items. That seems too niche, if you ask me. I do worry about things being overly complicated and there just being too much in the game for people to choose and to do. Maps have more information depending on the class. Maybe set it up where you are that class. They have to purchase a crew to help man the ship. I think they positions, not classes. I like the idea of having to deck out a crew to man a ship. I hope that you can hire NPCs, at least on a more basic level, to fulfill roles on the ship. So I'm really excited about that. There's a lot of potential there, and it's going to be very, very important throughout Alpha 1 to provide feedback on that. Now, having said that, whether you have Alpha 1 access or not does not justify your feedback. If you don't have Alpha 1 access, but you're watching content, you are fully warranted, justified, and encouraged to share your feedback on the areas of interest and things that you have opinions on. So I want to stress that. You might not spend, $700. Fuck, I spent $700 on this game now. If you don't want to spend $700 or $500 or whatever on early access to the game to test it, you can still share your feedback. You can still be a part of the community. You can still be a part of helping develop this game and make it to be everything that we hope it'll be. That point needs to be really stressed. Well, they've called it classes and that you will have skill trees within the classes, but to bring different aspects based on what you're sailing out for. Absolutely, right? There's going to be trade vessels. Your caravan will automatically turn into a seafaring caravan. It'll have a transition period where you will have to protect it, but it will transition into a boat essentially when you get to the edge of the water. But you will have different sizes, different classes of vessels as well, and they are currently set here, including galleons that'll be used for raid content and can have up to 40 people on them. 700, that's cute. Hey, that's a lot for me. All right. I love, like, that's going to be a really, really big boat. That's a lot to do on there. There's going to be a lot of things to have on there. And it makes you wonder how those raid encounters are going to be developed, right? When I think of, a giant kraken coming up from underneath, if it just keeps if it's bigger than your ship, right? Like if you've got tentacles that can come up and over the hull and grasp onto the boat, if it's that size, which is kind of what I'm envisioning, and it just simply swats at your ship and does a little bit of HP damage, I understand the necessity for that so that you have a chance to sit there and actually fight it. And then maybe you have a bunch of ship repair folks that are dedicated to repairing the boat during this fight to try and keep it afloat. That would be really cool. But at the same time, if it's that big and that strong, it should be able to just grab your ship, tear it up, and you don't stand a chance. And maybe that's what'll happen on your medium and small size boats. If you get near the Kraken, or any other giant sea monster for that matter, it might just simply decimate your fucking boat right then and there. You might actually need a galleon to stand a chance. That being said, you'll have armaments on the boat, such as cannons. You'll also have ranged classes on the boat. So your rangers, your mages, your summoners, cleric, I guess to an extent, that'll be able to do damage to anything that's within range, I would imagine, over the edge of the boat. So your fighters, your tanks, will more likely, your rogues will be the ones to man the cannons. So bear that in mind. If you're going to be focused on naval raid content, if you're a ranged class, you might not be best suited to be a gunnery sergeant. That might be better reserved for your melee classes because they are not going to be able to swing their weapons and hit the boss or do any significant amount of damage to it with their ranged weapons because that's not their specialty. Don't cross an ocean in real time. We'll see. It's a 400 square kilometer map is the proposed map size for the finished version of the game. In Arcade, when you do a raid boss, you have about 30 people on the ship. On to drive 8 on the cannons. The rest are to repair and fight off the ad that get on the ship. Also ranged can attack the boss. Okay, so pretty standard expectation there. There's practically no fast travel, only between certain types of huge cities, I believe. Scientific metropolises will have fast travel and can have airships, I believe. But those airships will still be meaningful travel time. It's not just going to be travel for 5 seconds, teleport, loading screen, and then boom, you're on the other side of the world, travel for 5 seconds and dock. It's going to be a meaningful travel system where PvP can still happen on that ship and you can drop your shit and be looted. Similar to how you would in any other part of the open world. It's exactly the same corruption-based open world PvP. So, yeah, fast travel is very, very restricted and limited in the game. Naval battles is making me rethink being melee as fighter. I mean, if you want to man a cannon or be a ship repairman, that might be absolutely fine. I think melee classes are going to take more of those types of roles. Or at least if you were going to optimize, obviously, right? If you're going to optimize your raid and try to min-max to any extent, that's easy wins right there. Is your melee classes are the ones running around the ship doing repairs and you manning the cannons on the ship to be able to shoot the boss and actually contribute and do damage to the raid, not just stand there like a fucking pylon in the way of in the middle of the deck doing nothing or shooting for 3 damage with your bow, you know? Whereas your actual ranged dedicated classes are doing, you know, normal damage. Or yeah, if there's ads that come on the ship, then your melee can obviously help with that. Your tank is going to be responsible for maintaining those and keeping them off of everyone else while everything else is going on the ship. So depending on what there is for ads and whatnot, obviously different in hopefully there's a variety of different raid bosses within the ocean and they have a variety of different mechanics. It's not all of them are going to have a bunch of ads that they summon up and do things. You know, I want to see a bit of variety there. But if he who groveled is a world boss, a world raid boss in the ocean, based on what he did in the lore, he should be able to decimate even a galleon. So I'm excited to see the possibilities of what happens with all of that. What if rogues stealth onto enemy's boat from the water? That would be hilarious. Just go up and just boom, snipe their pilot. I'm curious to see what kind of stamina system there might be with swimming, if any. Right? Obviously in Valheim, you cannot swim very far because you run out of stamina quick. It's like they looked at me in real life and like, hey, let's mimic this guy's swimming of stamina. If you swim more than 20 meters out, you're gonna start dying. Or will it simply be you can swim as long as you want, but if you go underwater, then you have a breath meter? I'll be curious to see where they go with that and what type of combat options you will have available as when you're swimming. You know, maybe boats won't have a ladder, or they'll have a ladder that has to be deployed from the deck. So if it's not deployed, i.e. nobody's fallen off the ship, then you can't get onto it, perhaps. So there's a lot of those little nuances there that we'll have to see. I would like to see a deployable ladder that you can then climb up onto the boat, but maybe not one that's persistently there. Maybe it is on the basic hull, but if you purchase one of the more higher tier hulls when you're building your boat, then it doesn't have that ladder there. It was so bad. I was a ranger on a ship and I only attacked the boss once. So many add and repairs. There needs to be a fine balance there. And again, this is what testing is going to be for, right? I don't expect that we're going to see and be testing oceanic raid bosses in Alpha 1. At least not this iteration of Alpha 1. It might come in the future. One can hope. We can cross our fingers and see. But between sieges and everything else, there's going to be lots to do already. Ships. You can pretty much summon a ship only from shore, from ports or harbors. So if your ship does get destroyed in the ocean, well, if you're still alive, guess what? You've probably got a long swim ahead of you. Sucks to suck, I guess, right? That is going to be one of the fundamental statements of the game. It sucks to suck. If you can't make peace with that, then maybe this isn't the game for you, you know? I love that you'll be able to name your ships. That's super cool. Shipbuilding. Anybody can build a ship. This type of ship that is available to build is going to be dependent on the blueprints that you or your guild have acquired and the advancement of the coastal node that you are in. You can go to a different coastal node that's advanced further if you want to build a higher level ship. Trade routes are going to be a thing through the caravan system. Like I said, caravans will turn into boats when they get near water. I wonder if we can give the ship sail at image or something. That would be super cool. I think that is something that was talked about, because they've talked about having custom images for guilds and other things like that in the game, and obviously concerns around things that are inappropriate, that shouldn't be there. So we'll have to wait and see what type of restrictions and systems are implemented for something like that. You know, if it's something that has to go through a manual approval process, I don't foresee it being implemented into the game, for the sheer fact that you're going to have, you know, hundreds of thousands of players, hopefully millions of players playing this game. And if you had thousands of guilds or thousands and hundreds of thousands of people submitting images to be approved to go on your ship sales or be used for your guild icons or on your freeholds or whatever else, that's costs way too much money to staff people to do that. I don't foresee that being a thing, but there might be some things in there that have, you know, some type of smart detection to determine what is safe, what's not allowed. Even if maybe it might even be a custom image builder that you can build within the game that prevents certain text or things like that. So we'll have to see, but I do expect that in time we'll be able to put semi-custom images at least on our sales, and that would be super cool. Absolutely want to have that. Maybe your shipbuilder has an insignia, because we already know that artisans, like an armor crafter or a weaponsmith, they will be able to stamp their crafted items with an insignia that resembles them. Now, whether that's just their name, their character name, or some other type of custom image or text, we'll have to wait and see. But guild flag or something, yeah, exactly, right? Like something to put on there that's custom that says who you are. In our case, there was a list of approved pick. If you want a custom, you had to get approval first to do that. Like, I can see there being an approval process, but I fear that it would likely not happen just due to the sheer number of things coming in. Either it would have a long lead time, because it just goes into an inbox and devs will action it, or community managers will action it as things come in, and it could be a couple weeks lag time. Someone's dog on it. That would be cool. I want to see a troll face stamp on a ship. It'll be neat to see what they put on it though. Obviously, there's going to be PvP, not just PvE content, but there will be PvP between ships. You can hijack some ships, not caravans, but cargo on a trade ship will be similar to caravans in that the ship must be destroyed in order to capture the loot from its wreckage. Cool. Operators of ship weapon platform can initiate naval PvP against other ships in the following 3 cases. Okay, so there's a little bit of criteria before initiating naval PvP. The result of events such as guild wars or node wars between the parties. When the ships move into an area that automatically flags them for combat. Oh, this is from a very, very recent live stream. As the result of open world PvP utilizing the flagging and corruption system. So pretty much, now So here's a good question. If you're on a 40-man ship, or fuck that, even an 8-man ship, and there's 8 people on there, including yourself, so 7 others, and you attack somebody who's another ship who's not engaged in PvP, they're essentially all everybody on both ships are non-combatants. If you attack them, does that flag everybody on your boat as a combatant? And if you sink their ship, are you then all corrupted? Or do you have to kill their players to become corrupted? Do only the people that are initiated and engaged in that combat? So if you have a gunnery sergeant who just decides to go trigger happy and start shooting the other ship, but nobody else on the ship is doing anything to contribute to that combat, did they all get corrupted as well? I would expect exactly, Twidget, if you are all in the same party, if you are on that boat, you become corrupt. You are subject to the same flagging as the person doing pulling the trigger, essentially. No, I don't think we know that as a detail yet, and that will be obviously subject to testing, of course, as is everything right now. But I would expect that everybody on the boat is subject to that. We'll have to wait and see, because I mean, if you're piloting the boat and your gunnery sergeant decides to start shooting somebody, you have the ability to turn the boat away and take away the line of sight so they can no longer shoot. Therefore, you might get flagged as a combatant, but you will not go corrupt yet because they weren't able to finish them off. Now, if you destroy their boat, but you don't kill anybody, should that flag people as corrupted? Because that could be an incredibly huge griefing mechanic, right? If you are specifically aiming below deck at the hull and you just destroy the boat but don't kill anyone, and then everyone else is just now all of a sudden sitting there floating in the water, that could be an incredibly exploitable griefing mechanic. If you're on the boat that just got sunk, you just had a really shitty fucking game experience, you know? If the people that did that walk away unpenalized, that's a really shitty game experience. I mean, even if they get flagged as corrupted, what do you do? If you're in the middle of the ocean, what do you do? Yeah, what if you are a passenger just getting a ride? You're not part of the party. You're just like, hey guys, I want to go over there. I want to sail over there. I'll hire you for 50 gold to take me over there. And then they decide to sink a boat along the way. What happens then? Exactly. Great question. Great question. I say you should not be punished for other people being stupid. But if you in the party and don't do anything, you should be fine. Choose your friend. Yeah, choose your friends wisely, right? Like this, I guess in that sense, it becomes it's similar to the story of the scorpion and the frog, right? It's just in their nature. If you hire a PvP or a ganking type group of players or guild to transport you, what do you think's gonna happen, you know? If you're on a boat getting a ride and not in their party, I don't think it should affect you, but you should have the option to join in or not. I think that's a good way. Like, now, the option to join in comes in the form of, do you contribute? Right? It's not like, you're not gonna be a prompt that comes up that says, would you like to engage in combat? No, if you just simply engage in it, if you heal somebody, that's engaging in it, or if you decide to attack and do damage. Now, I believe that is how the flagging system is supposed to work in the open world as well. If somebody is attacking someone else and you come by and you heal that person, you are now going to get flagged as well. Because now you've chosen to take part in the combat. Whereas if you decide to take a passive approach and not contribute, you don't attack, you don't help, you don't heal, you don't buff, nothing like that, then you don't get flagged. So I would expect the same mechanics to transfer over on the boats, but I do really wonder about destroying the boat versus killing someone. If there's a difference there, or if it's treated the same way. Yo, grumpy guy, how you doing? Good to see you, friend. Good to see you. Hope you're well. What's going on? What else do we got here? We talked a bit about naval combat. We got coastal and island nodes. Super excited for that. An island node might be really fun to go and jump to early on in the game, because you're going to be pretty isolated. Granted, you will have to swim there, but you would be very isolated. Granted, that might also really restrict you from available resources, so it might not be the most efficient thing to do early on. Depending on the size of the island and the biome that you're in, I suppose. I'm doing really good. We got our Alpha 1 access, man. Finally, we got our Alpha 1 access today. Fishing boats. There might be fishing boats. Now, I don't know if these will be the big commercial boats like what we're used to nowadays, where they just drag net half the fucking ocean all in one go. More likely a trawler or something like that. There will not be tidal patterns in the ocean, but the ocean will not be static content all the time. Unique content will be represented at certain times with regards to certain climates. So storms, things like that, more likely to be a thing. Underwater points of interest that have NPC structures may appear to be like cities, but they will not be nodes. There won't be nodes underwater or in the water. So it's not going to be water world out there, okay? Underwater dungeons will be a thing. So there will be underwater caves and structures, okay? Super excited for that. Super excited for that. This is from the most recent dev stream. Super interested in how they plan on doing that. Subs, dive suits, magic. I don't know that we're gonna have submersibles. That doesn't really seem to fit in with the lore of it, but yeah, it could be mounts. Mounts will help you swim under the water faster than you would normally, so they can get you into the dungeon in a single breath. There might also be like air bubble, geyser type structures under the water as a natural part of the environment that you can strategically stop in those to catch your breath again to continue on. I know they have that in some games. Mages cast air bubble around your head. Exactly. There could be an underwater breathing type spell or ability that can be cast by certain members. And, you know, we already know that content is designed, like dungeon content and everything is designed around a full party of 8 for one of each main archetype. So the class diversity is very, very much proposed there. You know, maybe the bards will be able to sing a song where you're just like, I can't drown, I'm invincible. Potions, absolutely, there's potions. Eat some gillyweed. So there's lots of possibilities that could lead to that. And chances are, if you're engaging in naval content, whether it's above the surface or below, you're going to want to have that stuff with you. Because if your ship gets destroyed and you're not dead, you might want to have some of that stuff with you just in case to help you, you know, swim back to land. So you can just put auto run on and just point in a direction and go. Put that on, and if you walk away and come back 5 minutes later and you're under the water for whatever reason, you're not just dead. Because that would suck. That would really suck. I'm leaning towards Ranger right now. That is the plan. If I really don't like the playstyle of it over Alpha 1, then I might change and try something else. But the plan right now is Ranger. And, you know, maybe we'll get a chance to play a few other archetypes as well. Test out a few different things. You know, we've got content plans and things in that nature coming around classes and the development of that. But we're really going to have to wait and see what we enjoy, what's playable. What's fun. So here's an underwater dungeon clip, by the way. Now you notice there doesn't appear to be any breath meter anywhere. But this is also just kind of a preview camera. But you can see the cave is pretty close to the surface. It does go a long ways in though. But it could be strategically just long enough to get underwater swimming before your next breath. so you can get there just before you run out of breath, right? That was shown in a live stream a couple months ago, I do believe. But this is a beautiful, beautiful screenshot. Now, there will also be NPC establishments. They could be a pirate encampment. They could just be like a fishing village of various races or whatever, of just in the NPC world, that will have their own coastal towns, cities, establishments that, you know, you might be able to go in and interact with on a friendly level. They might also be more of a hostile interaction. We could see both. So that's really exciting. Lots and lots of good content to come on there though. This looks like one of the smaller vessels, one of the 1 to 3 man type vessels. Very excited for all that. I think my biggest question right now though is how ships are going to be driven, what the propulsion system is going to look like. Is there going to be directional wind that changes semi-consistently throughout the world? And you know, when there's no wind or when it's not blowing in the favorable direction, do you have the ability to move somehow? Yeah. Depending on what you're doing, it could absolutely be tough to stay on the ship. You know, when it's a heavier storm out, will the weather and the waves be able to capsize your ship? If you have your sails up and all of a sudden you get a really strong gust of crosswind, is that going to be able to capsize your ship? Just tie a rope to your foot and to the boat so that even if you fall off, you can pull yourself back up, right? That's the plan there. The naval content in this game looks to be really promising. I think it's going to be very important when we have access to test the content that we do so thoroughly, that we pull experience from other games of what works well and what doesn't, and we think outside the box a little bit about what we would like to see, what can be unique to Ashes in terms of naval design. Now, I don't just mean dealing with ships, but just naval content in general, to make it exciting, engaging, fun, and unique. What kind of raid boss mechanics would be super cool to see, that some things that could be game changing, such as, you know, like what we saw in the most recent live stream with the dragon, whenever it landed and it sent out a shockwave that people had to jump over. That's awesome. You know, maybe whenever you're fighting a raid boss like a kraken and a giant tentacle smacks into the water, it creates a wave, it pushes your boat around and you have to now reposition your ship to get your cannons back on target. Things, maybe you can lure the boss into a certain area, such as, you know, environments like this, where now the boss is fighting out here somewhere, okay, in the water, and you can have people on land launching shit at it. Maybe, I don't know if you can put siege weapons on there, but still, land-based anti-ship batteries would be rad, like the base in Victoria. Maybe that's a thing, you know? Maybe there will be... How cool would that be to go and siege a coastal node, from the ocean, from the water? And maybe on your 40-man galleon, you could have a trebuchet. Or you just have a shit ton of the cannons that can actually take down city walls. You broke my city wall! So that would be, you know, things like that would be super cool. Super cool. But then the city has defenses, exactly, that can then combat those ships at a similar range. If they have that, I would be in for sure. Like, that would be so fun. I want to form a shield wall to fill the gap in the wall. Hey, maybe if you get 8 tanks together during a node siege or a castle siege, you could do that. You could have that superpower shield wall or whatever. But that would be super, super fun. I hope we do get... I hadn't even talked or thought about node sieges from the water, but that has to be a thing. That has to be a fun and functional thing for both aspects, because it could be a lot of fun to try and defend it. You know, maybe you can destroy the docks and things like that with the cannons. Now, they can't put ships out to have a front line of defense anymore. Once you destroy them, they can't respawn them. You know, all kinds of cool progressive battle systems could be there. Now, what happens when you die on the ship? Where do you respawn? You know, things like that could be a little bit more difficult. Maybe you respawn on the land somewhat nearby. So that now you, when as the node, as a defender, you destroy the ships and kill the people, the crew on the ships. Now they respawn on the other side. Now they're assaulting from land on the other side of your city. Now your defenses have to shift to the other side of the city as well. Or you could have a coordinated effort where you're coming from both sides at the same time. Super, super cool potential for how that coastal node siege could happen. It could be really dynamic. Ships needed to block the harbor from invaders. You could do that. Set up a physical line of ships in the harbor. Form a shield wall on one end of bridge. Rogues attack from behind. Super trap. That could be an epic first line of defense. Especially if there is, you know, there's going to be a lot of different environmental structure for different nodes in the game, that there could be a lot of natural fortification where, yeah, simply defending from a bridge. There's that one Dwarven Metropolis image. I'll see if I can find it. I believe it's a Denier one. This is one view of it. This is the front view of it. There's also a big mountain on the backside. I love that type of fighting. Same, right? Like that level of strategy and those tactics are what I'm super excited about. It's not just going to be a sheer numbers game. Who can throw more numbers at one than the other? This is also more concept art from the same city. So you can see there's the bridge, and it's a huge canyon here that runs around, right? That's more of the same. This is it here. This is again, the same image, or the same city rather, right? But you see it's got the big canyon here, and it's got the mountain on the backside. So you literally have a bridge and then two sides to defend on. Like, this is a pretty strong fortification. 24-hour stream when it launched. 24-hour stream would be super cool. I'm old. I'm tired all the time. So even if I had 24 hours that I could dedicate to a stream, I guarantee you I wouldn't be staying awake. So, you know, I'm here when I can be. I'm on a schedule, and that's how it is. So I try to meet quantity with quality very, very hard, and that's going to be the challenge. I do have goals that I have set in place. You know, I do 3 streams a week. I do a YouTube video once a week. That is not going to change or slow down, I expect. But there will be a little bit of additional stuff happening, obviously, as we get into the game, get access to content and whatnot. Right now, a lot of my YouTube videos are these streams cut up for the topic that we're mainly focused on, with relevant tangents, and put up on the YouTube channel. Once the game goes live and we can do more curated stuff as well, then we might see a bit of a mix of both, of just stream cut ups as well as actual curated, focused content.